Hetzke,
Here.
Bastian,
Here.
Danicourt,
Here.
Canower,
Here.
Tidings,
Here.
Nursinger,
Here.
Sangster,
Here.
Mizar.
Here.
I guess I should say that this is October 9th meeting, 2014 of the Penfield Planning Board. We have minutes that we need to
From September 11th.
approve from September 11th. Anybody want to entertain a motion to?
Any corrections that anyone saw while reviewing them?
Look good to me. I'll make the motion if anybody else is, I'll
Have
start
a
with it.
second?
I'll second.
I wasn't here.
Okay.
All right. Call vote.
Hetzke,
Aye.
Bastian,
Pass.
Danicourt,
Aye.
Canower,
Aye.
Tidings.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Next would be, what would you like to
We
cover
can
next?
we can go over the 2015 preliminary schedule, or I can go through the November agenda items. If you
Let's
like.
do the schedule. How's everybody feel about that?
Okay.
Excellent.
Anybody have any issues at the moment?
Well, it's not any of my birthdays, anniversary. Usually there's
Your
one of my
kids,
birthday
your
or
kids.
anniversary. It's not any of those, so I'm good with it.
He's checking it.
I had this all printed out and I left it on my desk.
There you go.
Yeah, I got another copy here.
Upside down.
I'll just look over
Did you have a
the
chance?
band's shoulder.
I don't think I got one.
Mark didn't send it to you?
I don't remember getting that.
Uh-oh.
Maybe
Maybe share it in
Mark's
the
not
middle.
here to defend himself.
Well,
you feel as though you're being
There. Yeah, mine.
unfairly
Discriminated against.
excluded from the group.
I can do it here.
We're gonna
I'm not
celebrate-
required for a quorum,
Are
though.
we gonna celebrate my birthday on the 8th or the 22nd this year?
I don't see any issues. I mean, end of October is usually a bad time, but this is early enough.
Mhm.
None of them coincide with school breaks.
We try to avoid those.
So, everybody good with it so far? If there's any issues, try to find out sooner rather than later so that we
Can make
don't
those
run into
changes.
last minute cancellations.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
So as it's drafted,
yeah, can we get a motion to approve the calendar for,
I make a motion to approve the calendar for 2015.
I'll second.
call a vote? Catherine?
Okay, Hetzke,
Aye.
Bastian,
Aye.
Danicourt,
Aye.
Canower,
Aye.
Tidings.
Aye.
Can I
All
keep
right.
this copy?
All yours.
It's worth a lot of money.
50
though.
cents.
All right. Thank you guys for going through that. We can go over what we have for November briefly. We have 3 applications for November, so we're starting to pick back up again. 2 sketch plans, 1 preliminary final. We'll start with the preliminary final. That's for Peeler Vision Land Rover Jaguar. They have submitted a site plan for their off-road demonstration test track. There's so many different names to it now, but this is what they're proposing. If you guys remember, we did a sketch plan for this earlier this year, and they had proposed this actually in the floodplain area. So following the comments from the board, they came back, made the demonstration area significantly smaller, and have located it over existing pavement, so they're going to give up parking for it, but it is not within any floodplain boundary, which is a huge improvement.
Where is that in the grand scheme of things?
Sorry, too soon. So there's the site as it is today
It's in front.
on Panorama Trail.
Panorama
That's
Trail, right?
Front
So it's
corner.
pretty much
Yeah.
same place.
It
kind
was.
of
It
as
was. he-
just a little
it-
southeast.
Exactly. It was here, over grass area again in the floodplain. Now they've moved it in, given up some parking for it. They're okay with that. It's Land Rover and Jaguar, so I don't imagine too many deliveries of cars there, because they don't sell that much.
How do you know?
Just read about it.
It does his
Land Rover
research.
sells more actually.
Well, Jaguar is owned by Ford now, right? I'm
No.
sure.
They are both
They
owned by
divested
an
them.
Indian company. Yep.
Ford divested Jaguar.
Yes.
Correct.
I don't know. I don't follow.
Yeah, I
any-
saw that today.
I don't follow.
Danny
any guys.
Wegman and Ferrari.
$4
F5.
million
$4 million
Ferrari.
Ferrari.
It was
Who drives
custom.
that?
Hey,
Who drives the
Wegman.
$4
Good for
million?
him.
Danny Wegman,
Danny
we spot
Wegman.
in Pittsburgh.
$4 million Ferrari.
It was customized.
Custom.
Got the Wegmans logo in the seat.
That's
I
money.
have no
Nice.
idea.
That's money.
750.
He's got
horsepower
Wegmans
engine.
cutouts in the wheels.
That's what I love about America.
I'd buy a Bugatti if I had, and God, more money than God.
Go for it.
Pay like 1,200 horsepower.
We're still making them.
Still on
Um,
TV, though.
What's that?
Yes.
that's right. So this is the preliminary final that they'll be coming in with. Got some details over here. Kind of the construction, what it would look like. Sorry for the projector and the lights. Not exactly clear, but it'll go up, it'll go sideways, it'll go down, and it'll come back around, and this will be test driven by an employee there, not the potential customer.
Oh, darn.
Yeah,
Is that the view from Panorama?
this is just a demo. This
So from Panorama, what would you see? Is it all rock? Would you
Uh,
look up at the demo?
it would probably be like this one down here.
It's going to be,
We haven't we have asked for cut sheets of what it's going to look like, some detail schematics, and if there's going to be any enhanced security
Landscaping
features,
areas.
landscaping, and lighting. So we expect that shortly. You'll have that in time for the drop in November.
okay.
It's kind of a similar concept, not them, but there's one at the BMW, I think.
Correct.
Yeah.
Calkins Road.
Yeah.
Yep, and they've referenced that, I think, in between the applications to say us we're trying to model that still. Land Rover's been pushing for it, so they've been adjusting their site to try and get it in. So they'll be in for preliminary final. Get out of there. Next one. Oh, what do I want to do first? I'll do this one. We got a sketch plan for a orthodontist office at the corner of Penfield Road and Harris Whalen Road, where Key Bank formerly was approved. It's on one lot, not the two that Key Bank had bought. So the applicant, he's open and willing to do the rear access drive. That is a condition from town board's rezoning of it. Obviously, he's going to need some variances just because of the way that these sites have to be designed to bring the buildings closer to the front, just like we did with UGA and iSite. Sidewalk is going to have to be relocated as part of this. There's shows, hard to see, right here. You can see where the existing one is and where they're proposing a new one. That was part of the Key Bank deal that we had when we were ready to approve that. That was part of the condition. So staff has met with him at PRC twice, and they've been willing to put that into their plans.
So Harris Hill School is right behind that,
Correct.
right?
Correct. And part of the conditions of the approval will require a black chain link fence in the back 6 feet tall, just like all these other developments as they go. Creates separation from the school, but allows you to still see through.
Access road along the back.
Yep. Access
Right now,
along the-
there's 2 existing houses.
Correct, and this would
Yeah.
only be on one house. Key Bank was...
On that lot, there's one house.
On that one.
Yeah, Key
Okay.
Bank was both properties. This only needs the one.
Okay.
So they sold this off.
Correct.
They still own the other one parcel.
I believe so.
Who's the dentist?
I can look up the name. It's an orthodontist. He's not... I don't think he's local. I think he's moving back here to open up a practice, or he works with a larger hospital group, but he's going private now. And if that helps, this is what he's proposing. He's already got some architecturals drawn up of what it could look like.
Nice. What mountain range is in the background there?
Adirondacks.
That's Harris Hill.
There's a water tower.
It's like the Rockies from about 100 miles away.
It was a clear day.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're in good shape for it. They gave us a lot of information for the sketch plan, and again, this will be in the drop for November. Jump out of here. And lastly, Bayview Landing. This is on Empire Boulevard,
So it's
towards the
condos.
bridge, a little further away from the condos, but down there. This would be a 278. He's given a conventional plan, but if we look at the overall plan, gives you a better idea what we're talking about. Empire Boulevard's here.
Mhm.
This is the private drive entrance coming in.
Didn't we already entertain a proposal for that area?
Yeah.
I forget the
Sketch
gentleman.
plans
Yeah.
we had
Yeah.
before.
This is a new sketch plan because they were trying to do, previously they wanted to have apartments up here as part of that.
Yeah,
After, meeting with staff, town board, and having those meetings, they're focusing on the R120 section of this. This actually falls on two different zoning districts. LaSalle's Landing is here. There's the dotted line that divides it, and the property, again, sits on both. They're focusing on developing just the residential part of it. And that will come to us for November as well.
this is preliminary final,
Sketch.
Good sketch.
still sketch?
Yep.
3
Okay.
sketch plans, right?
2 sketch, 1 preliminary final.
What's to the, what's that, to the west?
Tonight's
Oh,
third.
yeah.
What's up there on the west of this project?
Over here?
Yeah.
Yes, Old Westfall. Old Westfall
Oh, it's up
Road.
on top, okay.
Yep.
It's like a hill, it's a bridge, it goes up.
Oh, okay.
That's quite a hill, yep, and you guys might remember over here is an existing, it's like an egress easement only for emergency,
Oh,
Kinda
that
White
road,
Village?
Yeah.
for White Village. It's emergency access, however, it's in the event that White Village cannot get out through their street because of, say, an
So
ice storm
super
happens.
long
It's,
cul-de-sac.
there's a lot of people and a very long street. In the past, it was drawn up so that in the event there's an emergency, people can get through this breakaway chain and get down and out of that subdivision back out to Empire because there's only sole access through White Village right now.
When we entertained the previous proposal, those people came out against it because they thought that road was gonna be
A road.
a road
Yep.
going into their neighborhood, and they didn't want that.
Yep.
They wanted a
And,
shortcut between 441 and Empire.
and the applicant owner, Dr. Howitt, he's met with these people. I know Jim Costello has talked to these people. They're in a more understanding mindset now. They understand what's going on there. We've been pretty open with them,
Good.
and they've been very receptive of, understanding that it can be developed, and we're not looking to make a dedicated drive out of that.
the road will be right next to all that jazz or Ragway?
Yeah.
Right down it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Be a great sledding hill if you're a kid.
Would be.
Path all the way.
And we hiked it for open space, and this back section is quite a hill.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are our 3 November applications.
What day in November is that? 13th?
Correct.
I'm here.
And that covers
Better be here.
that covers the miscellaneous items that I
You're
had.
not gonna be here?
What's that?
Are you not gonna be here?
No, I'm gonna
Oh,
be
okay.
So if you'd like,
We all better be here.
we can break to recess.
Yeah. Why don't we take a short recess until 7 o'clock? We'll reconvene for the sketch plan.
Up here. Okay.
Evening and welcome to the October 9th, 2014 meeting of the Penfield Planning Board. As usual, we will begin this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have one item on our agenda tonight. It's a sketch plan. Our process, the applicant will present their proposal. The board will ask questions. Once our questions are answered, we'll open up discussion to members of the audience so that anyone can get up and speak their mind. We welcome that. Once that's all done, we will close the meeting. This is a sketch plan, so it's an informal presentation for what the applicant has proposed. So it's not an official public hearing. And Zach, would you please read
Mr.
the
Chairman.
first item?
Application number 1. Walt Baker, DSB Engineers, 2394 Ridgeway Avenue, Rochester, New York, 14626 on behalf of Vision Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, requests an informal discussion with the board regarding an expansion to the vehicle display parking area with associated site improvements located at 920 Panorama Trail South on 6.53 acres. Property is now or formerly owned by 920 Panorama Trail South LLC and is zoned GB. Application number 14P-0029, SBL number 139.09-1-60.21.
Good evening, I'm Walt Baker with DSB Engineers and Architects. With me tonight is General Manager for the Chrysler Jeep Ram site, Michael McElwain, and he's here if he can answer any questions specific to the site for you. As the chairman mentioned and Zach mentioned, we're here tonight for what's referred to as a sketch plan review. So it's a conceptual idea that we have or design that we'd like to move forward with on the property. As Zach mentioned, it's a 6.5 acre parcel, and the map I posted on the board illustrates that. I prepared the map based on aerial photography, so you could see the actual site, the existing building, which is on the site, which is located right here, and the 6.5 acres actually extends quite far northeast into an area that's treed and wooded, and it's also drops down to Arundecoit Creek. So basically, the portion of the site that we're utilizing is just this gray area here. In yellow, I've highlighted what we'd like to do is expand the parking, and this area here that presently has trees on it is a sloped area. It slopes up, and what we'd like to do is redesign that area. I've also put on the map a section what we're proposing to do to have an elevated area above the existing parking for additional vehicle display. So we'd like to, obviously there's Jeeps on the property. That's one of the products that's for sale, obviously, car dealership. And we'd like to utilize that area to display the vehicles over top of the existing vehicles. So it would be kind of a step affair. We'd use a decorative retaining wall and create a decorative retaining wall along this area, have the parking, have a single row, a drive access, and then 2 rows of parking behind that, and then the retaining wall going up. I've added a couple illustrations of existing retaining walls. Everybody's familiar with those across the street at the Agor parcel, which is, we're more or less 920 Panorama Trail South is across from Paychex. And just heading towards East Rochester, there's the Agor property, which has a similar type display area for his vehicles and a retaining wall. So we're thinking something along that nature. Again, we do have 6.5 acres, and we're utilizing approximately, there's about almost 2.5 acres of green space on the property. So we're well in excess of the 35% green space that's needed for the project. And what we'd like to do is take about 3/4 of that area, which would encompass this, and obviously regrade it and use the retaining walls to address the elevation change.
Could you go over that green space again? You said the whole
site's,
property is 6.5?
the whole site's 6.5 acres, and we have about, I think it's, maybe I misspoke, it's, provided we have 4 acres of green space.
Right now.
And there's approximately 2.3 acres that is required for 35%. So we've got about 4 acres
right now before this,
before this, correct.
and then after this,
This would be about a reduction of about 3/4 of an acre. So we go from 4 acres of green to about 3.25 acres of green, where what's required is 2.25, basically. So we'll still have in excess of an acre of green space over the requirement of 35%.
okay. Okay. We have questions?
I had a question. How many spaces are you showing for car spaces in that
The-
yellow area?
In the yellow area,
Mhm.
this would be approximately 100 cars. I think we added up 96, what we'd be adding to the site. Again, it would be display parking, so if a sales representative wanted to show somebody a specific vehicle up there, they could take them up there. And the display vehicles would be pointing towards the road, but in the back, we'd have it double stacked, but they'd only be moved by the employees. They wouldn't be moved by customers.
Walt, how much of that hillside would be taken away? I mean, I know you can't just sort of dig where the wall is. You have to dig much further back,
Correct?
and that is also dependent on the height of the wall,
Yes.
correct? So, I
Yes.
mean, is that entire hillside going to be taken down?
Actually, what's required, we showed 5-foot contour intervals based on the requirements for sketch plan. We haven't done any field topography yet, but based on the contours that we got from previous maps at 5-foot intervals, we're looking at a step at the front of approximately 10 feet, and then we'd level it off, have a slight slope for drainage, and then it would step up, and the back wall would be approximately 25 feet high. So once we got to the back part, again, there's the section of what the wall would look like, but underneath it is a section of how the retaining wall would be constructed with the tieback. So you'd have to actually excavate a little bit further behind where the wall's going to be, install the tiebacks, compact the soil, make sure everything stays in place before you,
So if you have a 25-foot high wall on the back end, you're going at least 25 feet further. It looks more like 30 feet or so further back.
correct, temporarily. And then you'd revegetate after you install the wall.
So how close does that get to the peak or the edge of the cliff?
The peak, it continues going up for another 20 feet beyond that. The site that was that's under construction now, the hotel is going in, you can get a feel for that because they've cleared the pad area for that, and you can see it up on the back side of the slope. So it does tabletop back in this area here, but it still continues up on our site another 15, 20 feet.
Let's say you're walking through the park. What will people see?
Trees. Won't see anything.
So even during construction?
Correct. Right.
So what you're saying is like obviously, to build those walls, a lot more trees, all the trees that are in that area that you have to shore up behind the wall,
Correct.
they have to come down.
Correct.
And what's still there? Is there substantial, or is it,
Substantial vegetation.
one here, one there?
No, it's fairly dense. And again, then the topography, it really doesn't start dropping off for another, well, this is a 50 scale map, so we've got another, where's 50? Probably another 40 feet, which is wider than this room, before it actually starts the topography starts dropping off and heading towards the creek.
Okay. Okay. What do you have? More questions?
Ken, where else around Penfield or in the surrounding communities is there a 25-foot high retaining wall? That's a tall wall.
Correct.
Is there someplace we can go look at what it looks like, get a feel for it?
Actually, it'd be more like 35 feet, because you got 10 feet at the
Yeah.
parking
It'd be-
lot, and then another
Yeah,
25 feet.
But this back one's 25, it's gonna
Yeah.
slope down obviously when
Right.
it comes down to the.
Right, we'd have
original grade, but-
approximately 10 feet to get over top the existing vehicles that are parked. So this wall on the lower level would be approximately 10 feet, and then we'd go up another 25 in the back, so. 25-foot high wall presently?
Yeah, I can't think of any.
Right, the only one I can think of is down in Victor. There's one that they built, I got a project I'm working on in Victor, and they did Tim Hortons a number of years ago, which has a wall that's probably 40 feet tall down there.
On the northeast side of 96 there?
Correct, yeah, that was really tall. But the Agor company across the street, their wall's about 15 feet high,
15?
yeah.
And what's the
That's
length
across the
of
street.
the wall, the 25-foot wall? Roughly? You don't have to,
Roughly?
yeah.
Yeah, brought the scale, I didn't. Roughly, It's about 300 feet long.
About a football field.
Yeah.
Do you have anything proposed to break it up, like vegetation, trees, plantings in front of it? Any type of architectural, even if there's a pattern or some sort of design or
Well, you've
different
seen-
color schemes?
Right.
Something that would make it not just a
A solid.
wall,
Solid 25.
mass of.
Right, as you can see, we, fashioning it to the contour of the existing hill that's there now, we would have, obviously, the configuration of the site is gonna break it up with some shadow lines, but we did, I did receive a comment from, the town engineer, and, basically, he said, what would you think if we were to, basically, what you're stating is to, break it up with, maybe tier it and
Yeah.
create a planting area, a bed area.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that or not, yeah. And I don't think Vision's opposed to doing that, so we could definitely look into doing something to break up the mass. Landscaping. In fact, we've just, this week, landscaped the entranceways on both sides, and Michael's taken care of parking lot striping and fire lanes and all that, so all that's been upgraded.
So you would be open to something like that?
Yes.
Well, you do have that shown, right, in two of those images for partial landscaping? That's
Correct.
the idea of what you would be doing?
Correct, yeah, you could do something like that, but actually tiering it and stepping it in that manner would actually help break it up even more, creating a intermittent shelf.
Yeah, go
So you-
7 feet, back 5, and
Right,
Oh, I see.
yeah, and instead of just the 25-foot high wall, we'd actually basically break it up. We could make it, 12 and a half and 12 and a half and have an intermittent point with some landscaping introduced into the site.
Okay.
You
Well,
can
can you-
also get vines and have all kinds of growth, where it kind of,
Can you speak to drainage? What's the plan for
the increased runoff.
handling the stormwater?
Right, presently, there's a storm water system on the property, but this site was approved prior to having the on-site detention facilities that we see today. So it's kind of pre-existing, non-conforming as far as the on-site stormwater runoff and control. Again, we're adding approximately, like I stated, we're going to be disturbing probably about 3/4 of an acre. As far as, we could look at the type of material, the surface that we're going to use versus just a straight asphalt pavement, try to create a more of an impervious surface. It is a sand, as you well know, that this area is sand and it absorbs the water rather well. And we're close to Aronicoy Creek, but
So are you saying use some type of
more of a
pervious
pervious.
pavers or something, or?
We could look into that,
Or,
yes. Yeah. Try to create some areas where we can try to get the runoff so it absorbs into the existing
Wouldn't that
zone.
undermine all the work that's done to shore up the retaining wall?
We'd have to look into it. Like I said, it's a sandy type soil, so I'd have to look at what we could do. As far as the runoff, there's existing stormwater systems on the property, but as far as having an on-site detention facility, there isn't one presently. So it connects into the storm system that goes down and it continues on, and I believe it heads off into Timothy Patrick's and the storm system that goes down the road.
So it's just sheet flow
Correct,
into a catch basin,
correct,
and you're proposing the same thing?
yes. Well, we
Just
could look at other
a lot
methods that
more.
might help collect some of it and slow it down.
Walt, what's your thoughts about the lighting?
I don't know, we haven't gotten into any type of
We just
lighting
recently
idea.
upgraded all the lights on our property to LEDs.
Mike, do you mind
Yeah, they went to-
coming up and just introducing yourself for the record? And
Yes, I'm sorry, my name's Mike McElwain, I'm the general manager at 920 Panorama Trail South. We just recently, this past spring, upgraded our lights on our lot to the LED light system. We would probably continue that up there. Obviously, it would need to be lit. That's worked very well for us. The quality and clarity of the lighting's, I think, a huge improvement over the old standard lights. And I know that there's still some incentives through New York State to continue on with that system. So obviously, we would light it, we would have to light it, and it would probably be very similar to what we have as far as spacing for the lot now. I'm sure the lighting, which it's still a display area. We still need to have sufficient light to display the cars at night.
But my concern is, would you put the light poles up on top of the 25-foot barrier retaining wall? Would you put them down low, maybe even build them into the retaining wall, shining down on the cars? So it's not, so you don't see a glowing hillside if you're in the park.
Right.
Yeah, I think one of the concerns, that's going to be a lot higher in elevation. You add a pole, all of a sudden you have a lot of glare, whatever source it is, whether it's LED or metal halide or, I think it would be smart to be careful about how lights are placed and aimed so that it's not.
I would venture to guess that we would be putting out less light than the hotel that's going to go up next to us, with the amount of parking that they would have to have and lights for pedestrians or for their customers in that area. I mean, there's also, that's a 50-foot cliff behind that way. So if you take that height of the cliff and the vegetation behind it, if you're in the park, I mean, you'd really have to almost strain your neck to see above that area. I mean, everything would be out of view except obviously the ambient light that would come up. And if you have a retaining wall, it's almost 25 feet high. I don't think I have a light pole on there that's on my property now that's probably approaches that. So I would think that would all be pretty much kept behind that area.
Yeah, we'd most likely keep the light poles down, position on a parking stall stripe, an intersection of a parking stripe, not mount them on top of the retaining wall.
And then the LEDs give off a lot of light. We found we could position the actual
Spread
flat
'em out.
panels and spread them out, and you can angle them at different areas to provide the light that you want. So we could probably, make it a bit better situation.
Okay.
Okay. Bob, do you have some, you
Yeah,
look like
could
you have
you-
some questions.
Could you describe plans for fencing or railing at the top of the retaining wall, the 10-foot?
In this location here?
Yes.
Yeah, obviously, we'd have to have some type of standard 3-foot, 42-inch rail, but we don't want to block the view of the vehicles as well, so we'll have to look at some type of fencing or pedestrian barrier so we can achieve that, but still not block the vehicles, so.
And I would think you would probably need something for safety too at the top of the 25-foot. Even though,
There shouldn't be anybody up there.
well, there shouldn't, but it's a 25-foot drop.
Right, yeah, we'll look into that, yeah,
Okay.
that's something maybe that'll blend in with the natural colors of the hill.
And it may be helpful if at some point there's a street level view rendition, what that would appear to be in scale from Panorama Trail.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Anyone in the audience care to speak to this application? No? Okay. Let me see if I have any other questions here. The pre-existing conditions of prior approvals, we understand that most of those have been satisfied at this point?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's all I have at the moment. Emergency vehicles. The fire marshal would like to be able to get a truck up there,
You did.
up on the,
Oh, I'm sorry.
On the upper level?
yes.
We'll discuss that with him as far as what he needs as far as drive aisle. Typically, they like 24 feet, which we usually have, in order to have a drive aisle, we like to have two lanes of two-way traffic anyway, so that's a minimum 20, so 24 feet wouldn't be hard to achieve.
So you don't see, you think that that'll be able to be accommodated? Being able to
24
get
feet, yeah.
emergency vehicles up?
Michael knows the 24 feet.
The distance I'm very familiar with now.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I think that's all I have right now. What we do now is we discuss this in our work session, which you're welcome to stick around for if you'd like.
Okay.
And we will issue a letter with our comments on this. All right, nice presentation. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming, and
All right, we appreciate
we
it.
will call a sketch plan closed.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you all for your time.
Should we get this party started? Reconvene, finish up?
Yep.
All righty. Let's get a letter drafted. How does everybody feel about this?
I think it's an interesting expansion, tiering it like that. I think the 25-foot wall's got to be somehow broken up. It's going to be, it's really good. It's going to be 300 feet long, 25 foot high.
I'd like to know what the scale, because we were just talking, there's a dealership down in Henrietta, Patrick,
Mhm.
down there on Lehigh Station. And that hotel is at the top, and there's retaining walls all along the back of that site.
That's at Patrick on Henrietta Road, east or
Lehigh
west?
Station Road.
Lehigh
Oh,
Station.
Lehigh Station. Maybe I'll drive down there.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We should all do that.
So we get an idea what it looks
It's an
like.
assignment.
I'm not against it. I mean, you got
Field
a
trip.
you got
I
a
think
thriving
vi-
business here.
I think visually, if it's done
called?
right,
I think it'd be attractive.
Patrick.
Patrick. Lehigh Station.
GMC one?
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's right. We have some of our sales that we can use our imaging systems on to look at it from.
Yeah, so we can do that street view there.
Oh, nice.
And we're looking over here. Well, let's jump in and find out.
Yeah, why not?
Well, it'd be behind him, right? So it's there.
Yeah.
Can't see anything.
Yeah, it's the
Oh,
buildings
you
on
went
the
the wrong
right.
way. No,
Yeah.
not down that street. Stop it. Little yellow guy. Back here, Bob?
Yeah, but it's at the other end towards
Oh, I see this hill.
West
So let me-
Henrietta.
West Henrietta Road.
Yeah, let me jump out. Sorry.
While he's doing that,
I'm throwing this guy
other
around.
comments? I know I have a list here from town staff has a plethora of concerns.
It's a fence. What do you want? Oh,
Some of
this-
which
yeah, there's
bit you might be able to see.
complying with the E-pods, the steep slope E-pods.
Mhm.
So I guess from the standpoint of putting things in a letter,
That doesn't.
we should
there's an
probably
example of it.
ask for them to address the steep slope E-pods. And the, woodlot. The drainage, I have to say, is a concern of mine. I think that this might require some additional treatment versus just sheet flow, you know. let her go. Down to Tim Hortons. I don't think that's gonna work.
Yeah, I was speaking with Mark earlier today about just drainage. Obviously, it hasn't been engineered yet to save money. We're at a sketch plan, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, an underground storage system that would, you know, eventually drain back into the earth would most likely compromise the wall. The state would not be accepted of a system of adding any more flow into their stormwater system that's out there already. So they would want to see something that's definitely engineered to manage it on site. Let me jump back to the map. Sorry, I pulled up the retaining wall.
It's okay.
Didn't Home Depot, was it Home Depot, put in like an underground centrifugal?
Yeah,
I forget the science and the technology.
I
how it
don't
worked,
remember
but it
the
didn't take up a lot of
details.
space, but it was an effective way to,
They did do a unique system. I don't know all the
Yeah.
details of it. Mark would know if we had him here
so
tonight.
something like that would probably help mitigate the runoff. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here.
Yeah, maybe some sort of
Yeah, something would have to be
Centrifugal
explored.
force and spun
temporary
the water
storage
around and
tank or
separated out
something
the
that
oils and things.
would,
yeah, and it was doing some separation of what was coming off the parking lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there's something there to look into.
Bless you.
Thank you.
We did Eastway Plaza years ago, back in the 90s, we did Eastway, and we put underground storage system in Eastway.
okay.
This was a mechanical system, separation. So,
Yeah, we have been, you know, other tight sites, we have been doing underground systems. Just Mark noted that because of the retaining wall and you're, you know, above what already is the ground level down out there, you know, some considerable work would have to go into coming up with a stormwater drainage system for this.
so we got E-pods, we got drainage. I think lighting can be managed fairly easily.
Yeah.
I think a little breaking up the wall.
It needs to be addressed, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I think
it-
breaking up the wall is a must.
Well, and landscaping's addressed if they do the tiering. Like,
Yeah.
you should have all the landscaping built in.
No whiskey barrels.
Yeah, and something to be able to see the cars and keep them from, you know, driving off the
Rolling
cliff.
off.
Or people from getting
Yeah.
too close. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, on this plan, and we brought it up in the public hearing, you know, asking for a safer guardrail system, because there was a curb stop shown on this plan. Off on the right side there with the details, and Walt has pointed out that they would be looking at,
Maybe even a couple of
something different.
timbers or something, to like,
it would be something that would
6
have
something
inches
to
that
high.
doesn't have to be super high, but something that's gonna stop.
Like a 6
If
inch
you
high
accidentally
wall
get
or
in and put
something.
in drive instead of reverse, you don't wanna
Just like a black,
jump off
like
the
a
cliff.
guard, just a tubular rail or something.
And you gotta
You
have a
just have to-
guardrail. You can't have people, there's a 10-foot drop, you gotta guard against that.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like a 42 inch.
if it's pedestrian, it's gotta be
Right,
Yeah.
3 feet.
yeah.
That could be aircraft cable, really.
Yeah, there's,
Pedestrian wise.
New York State's got their standards on that. 39 to 45 inches on it. I can call that crap, it's bullshit. And there's-
We don't have to get into
No, we don't need
design
detail,
that.
but
No,
something's gotta
no,
be
but-
there.
Something's gotta be
Okay.
there. That can be in the
We'll
letter.
have that in the letter.
Handle it.
Noted.
You know what we're looking for, right?
Train dogs.
Fencing,
I was
landscaping,
gonna
security.
jump back to the steep slopes E5.
Yep.
One of the factors that we have listed part of the code, I should say. One of the items, it's on item number 9 in the code, says to, I'm gonna pull it up quickly. There is no reasonable alternative for the proposed regulated activity on that portion of the site not containing steep slopes. Basically, if the steep slopes are at risk of being compromised, has every alternative been explored with the site layout to mitigate, you know,
Disturbing the steep
disturbing
slopes.
all the earthwork there. So I don't, how the board would like to approach that? To have that
Well, it probably
expressed
should
at
be
a later
on
application.
the northern part of the parcel.
That is where it gets tight.
It drops off.
It's closer to that peak, at that northern location
So
here.
no, I'm talking about up left,
Behind the building?
behind
Kind
the
of?
building. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going left. That section there. Does that drop off? What's the deal
That's a
there?
ravine.
That does drop as well.
Okay, so those cars are at the
You can
end
tear
of
it
the...
down.
Tear it down. Cantilever it over the...
So it's just something to think about as we
Mm-hmm.
look at the steep slopes factor of this. And
Okay.
you guys had brought up emergency access.
Will the fire
Fire
truck
marshal.
actually have to get underground through where the cars are?
That'll be up to the fire marshal when they review later plans. Typically, he's been trying to get 360 access through all the sites that we approve as much as we can.
Does he drive around the parking lot there? He just drives around the building. That's what they typically want their access.
That's what they tested this week, and that was achieved. His comments will come out when we get
Okay.
a new application for this with the full plans.
Because, I mean, they don't drive down to the end where the cars are displayed, right? They don't drive around the parking lot where the cars are displayed, just to make sure they can get a fire truck down through there, do they?
They did not, no. But I guess now you're getting more interior ways to get around
Yeah.
the site.
And that's
If
what I'm
something, if
guessing.
something ever happened, he has to take that into
I
consideration.
mean, if there was a car fire, well, they're gonna, maybe let it burn.
You never know.
Versus a building.
You never
it's-
know.
it's different.
Their role is to make sure there's access, so
Okay.
when they review the plans, again, a comment could be made to
Whatever
that.
ones.
Yeah. He goes by the state fire code for everything, whether it's building or site, so.
Okay. What other things did you find, Zach? Or Doug?
Steep slopes, we covered steep slopes. We went through what the construction method would be of the retaining wall and how far back it may be necessary for the tiebacks and the geogrid installation. What else in here?
Would,
We have, Walt had spoken that he's gonna do, they would have to do complete topo for future
Yep.
applications. With lots, they'd have to demonstrate if they're able to comply with the tree preservation guidelines. Obviously, a lot would be coming out if they'd be able to achieve replanting an appropriate amount of trees during that revegetation. Also, because of the loss of trees, demonstrating like a visual rendering, as Bob had brought up.
Yeah, that's something we do need
I would agree.
coming up Panorama, driving south of Panorama.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all of a sudden you'll drive up and you'll see this. It'll be
Clear
great.
wall.
Yeah.
So we can include that. Drainage, we discussed that.
Site plan.
Let's see, site plan, we talked about the lighting, the guardrails,
Emergency
landscaping
vehicles.
and breaking the wall up.
Can it be reduced from 96 spaces? Do they need the full 96? It's a question to ask in the letter.
We can include that. Anything, reducing the parking would help.
Yeah,
Necessary.
reducing the impact on the
On the hill.
overall hillside.
Mm-hmm.
Could you go to 2 rows instead of 3?
Right.
Could
Or
change the shape,
change the shape so maybe an outlet comes in sooner in the parking here as opposed to further up. Eliminating this bend. We can ask that question and
Yeah.
they can bring back their proposal with that. Part of it, we could also, does the board want to include something about having their site in compliance with the previous approval resolution, having a written statement, a summary of what was done to to show
Mhm.
that it's been documented that everything the board required, landscaping, striping, just the layout of the site, all that's in compliance with our previous resolution from last year.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. And that's what I got. I guess I just
Anything else?
overall board's feelings of this, what kind of recommendation, what kind of stance you want to take in this letter for the future.
Well,
Bill had said that.
to me, they're tax-paying citizens of Penfield, been around for a long time. And, I want to be reasonably accommodating, I don't want to be, there's that
Balance.
balance between,
Mhm. It's
Uh,
a successful business.
Yep.
And this will probably make them more successful.
correct.
And it's a commercial.
So how do we help,
There,
let them become more successful and yet protect the interests of the rest of the citizens of Penfield?
And I think you hit it, when you're in the park, down below, you're fishing or you're over where you're parking, you're not gonna see anything.
Because it's not at the crest.
Right, it's not at the crest, yeah. So the vista from the park's not gonna change.
so, I guess it sounds like we're leaning towards supportive of a future application. However, we're lacking the information to make a full-blown go for it. We've done previous applications, like for iSight, where we've asked the applicant to prepare more information about the site plan and to bring that back to PRC to discuss that with staff before a formal application is made to the board. We can take that route and include that in the letter. So
Well, it could
so that
also
we're
be
so that we're managing
a
the time a little
potential
better.
suggestion versus a requirement.
Correct. It could be a suggestion.
You may want to do this.
And that's how we approached it with iSight. So we can include some language in there for that. But I guess it does sound like we're more supportive than against.
Even in the two-tiered car lot in Monroe County that I can think of.
I have one question. When you add that many spaces for cars, you're adding more, obviously, more customers coming in and out of the lot. Do you have to add any other forms of, entrance and exit into the parking lots? Because there's only one right now. So if you add another 100 vehicle, I don't know if the rule says per how many
That is a
spaces
good
or-
question. I will have to speak to the building department about that.
Okay.
But I will ask it about balancing out that inventory to parking ratio. I don't know if I guess I wish Mike was still here. I guess
The
you could probably
driveway
ask him.
entering into the site?
Yeah, I was just curious if you have to add per,
I know.
Yeah, New York State
You won't
DOT,
do
I
it
think it's a
right.
DOT regulated
Is it?
street and,
It is. Yeah, DOT would
One
not
curb
want a
cut.
curb cut, but
yeah.
I was
they're gonna-
thinking more on-site parking for customers. If we're talking about increasing the inventory there,
Mhm.
Yeah, this site is pretty small.
it is.
Yeah, I can check what they have, a ratio for customer parking.
Yeah, as long as they got that in mind, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're bringing up, yeah,
It
Mike
will
was
have
saying we
an
want to bounce
impact
by
on
them
customer
because,
parking.
Right.
Yeah, what if you have to increase your parking on something, 10 cars or something, I don't know if there's a requirement for car sales.
Parking stuff, I usually leave that to Harold in the building
Yeah, I can
department.
check.
He runs a lot of parking numbers.
Mm.
Okay,
I think
Under
for,
GB, because it's GB, there's so much per square foot of building
all right.
that's required for parking, but I
It's-
don't think they designate what's
Right.
inventory
Oh.
versus
yeah,
right.
customer and that.
Bob,
We
you have
should
the-
Every Saturday,
probably
they
have
one
them
spot.
address snow removal and storage
My coffee.
for those additional
That's
96.
a good thought.
We forgot that.
You can't push it over somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
we'll
it's-
include
yeah.
an item for snow storage and removal in the letter.
You gotta move that dumpster, Johnny. Or is it something else?
Previous site
To over
plan.
there, that was
Yeah,
previous.
oh, yeah.
What was
Right,
approved
right,
last,
right.
last year?
Okay, you're
They
gonna take care of
showed
that.
the dumpster in that northeast corner.
Okay. You're gonna take care of that.
They want to move that to where it says snow storage area, location of snow storage.
More,
Right about where that
three
three
is
is,
almost.
yeah, they'd like to put the dumpster over there.
Okay,
Relocate that into that location. They've got everything striped though, they've got fire lane striping in.
Yeah, I got it done
I
Sunday.
told them, get it done, everything you did. They did a good job.
So they can handle that dumpster relocation through staff.
that's fine,
We can keep that kind of separate from
yeah,
the expansion.
okay.
Gives
Any
you
other
enough to get
things we want in the
started.
letter?
Yeah.
You want me to go over it again, or? you think
Everybody
idea?
comfortable with it?
I'm good.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Interesting,
wanna
it's a
go over
small
it again?
project, it's
I
interesting.
think I went through my
Wanna
list,
tear it
and I
up
think I got
Yeah.
everything written down, so I think we're in good shape for the letter.
Okay, can we entertain a motion to draft and send the letter?
I'll make a motion to draft, send the letter.
I'll second.
All right, call a vote.
Hetzke,
Aye.
Bastian,
All right,
Danicourt,
Aye.
Canower, Heidi.
Aye.
All right,
One last item.
since we just did that, we have nothing to talk about at the next meeting.
There are
how
no
about those Giants?
So,
Cowboys.
would you guys like to still come, sit around? Or would we like to cancel the work session at the end of the month?
Yeah, there are no tabled items before the board right now, so.
I would suggest,
I think we should come and sit around.
okay, would you care to make a motion?
The fall planning board
Sit by
picnic?
yourself.
There was Timothy Patrick.
Yeah, so would you guys, anybody care to,
Make a motion to cancel the work session at the end.
yes?
What's the date?
I'll second that.
Canower, right?
I'm gonna go with, Bill and
October
Bob.
21st.
Cancel. Thank you.
All right.
21st has been canceled.
Okay, Bastian,
Aye.
Danicourt,
Aye.
That's a
Canower,
Tuesday, right?
Yes, it
Heidi.
was a Tuesday.
Aye.
I moved it.
Right down.
I'll send out a cancellation notice.
Planning board.
Okay, great.
Beautiful. Right. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
You won't, you'll be working hard.
November 13th. We will adjourn this meeting and have a good rest of the month, people.
How about this Bills Day, man?